So in this session, we're going to be looking at what are the must-have cloud accounting tools. And as you can know, from out there's dozens of them. So how do you pick the best ones? Because there are so many. I'm fortunate that I've spent many years now working closely with accountants. I mentor over 200 accountants. We get together every single month. And one of the things I learned from working with accountants and bookkeepers is what are the apps that are the most popular, the apps that are getting the best results. And in a short while, I'm going to introduce the two people on my left, Jane and Gary, who are just getting extraordinary results using cloud accounting tools. So we're going to hear about the sorts of results they're getting. And what I've found from all the firms I work with is that they're recurring themes. There are particular tools that work really well and work together. And so that's what we're going to take you through today. So I'm going to give a quick overview of those tools. We're then going to hear from the people that have created the tools or behind the tools. And then we're going to hear, most importantly, from a bookkeeper and an accountant who's using them. And then we'll see how time goes, but the expectation is we'll have 10-15 minutes to have a Q&A. So if you've got any questions whatsoever about any of the tools or about what Gary and Jane have been doing, please ask us those questions. And we'll just share as much as we can over the course of the next 45 minutes. So let me take you through what those tools are. And the first one is a tool I've created for the firms that I work with. It's called Cloud Pricing. And what this allows you to do is to give a value-based price and get better prices, convert more clients by having a system that enables you to price in the meeting. So the starting point is always to get the price agreed. Now, once you've then got your price agreed, the next thing you want to do once you've signed the client up is you want to get them on board. And so the best tool for doing that, people who use this tell me extraordinary things about it, is PracticeNisshin, which is essentially a workflow management process. So once you've got the price, that goes into PracticeNisshin, that manages all the engagement letter process and so on. And we'll hear from Guy in a few minutes on that. Then what we want to do is make sure we start sorting out the numbers. And my view is by far and away the best cloud accounting tool is QuickBooks. And the reason I say that is, number one, because I use it myself, my own business, and I find it extraordinary the things it does. And particularly in the last 6-12 months, the progress in that tool, it's without doubt the best. And the reason it's the best is because Intuit are the biggest cloud accounting company on the entire planet. And they've spent a lot of time over the last 2 years really developing this tool. Then we've got next thing to do is we want to make sure we get paid and manage cash flow, and that's where GoCardless comes in. This is an extraordinary tool. It's a tool that's just transforming accountants' cash flow by helping us to get onto direct debit. For my own business, I use GoCardless. All of my income from the firms I work with is all paid on direct debit through GoCardless. And it's so easy, so cost effective. It means for my business, I know exactly what's coming in every single month. So I can predict my business. I have no debtors, no bad debts, no chasing money. GoCardless automates the whole thing for me. And last but not least is once you've automated your practice, you've got everything automated, you then have got more time to start adding value to your clients. And that's where we need to start doing things like interpreting the numbers, creating management reports, doing cash flow forecasting, for example. And the best tool that I've come across, and firms rave about this, is Crunchboards. It just creates wonderful ways to add value to your clients. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut up, because I've said enough, and I'm going to let each of these people on the right say a few words about the tools. And I'm going to start with, and I should remember the order, we're going to start with Guy.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, can everyone hear me? Yep, perfect. Okay, so I am the one from down under. I was a bit late. The boat arrived a little bit late, so I am sorry about that. I'm a chartered accountant from Australia that used to run an online accounting firm. And so in creating PracticeNisshin, we're actually trying to help you move your firm to the cloud so you can better service and look after your clients. We went back to where does the client relationship start? And it's, as Mark said, you price them up, but that relationship begins when they sign their engagement letter with you. And so we wanted to make that first impression, the whole onboarding, dead set easy, 100% in the cloud, and connect it to your back office systems like QBO to actually do the invoicing. So we think we help with the whole move to the cloud by making your life easier in terms of admin management. We think we create a great impression for you with your clients. Being the first thing that they see from you might be that it's an engagement letter. And the last thing is that we help you change your business model. So to go from time cost to cloud, you need value-based pricing, you need an agreed fee with your client, and you need that to line up with the value you're delivering your client using something like Crunchboards and QBO. Because your costs are now monthly, whether it's wages, software, or whatever, and you need to make sure the value is monthly so that you can bill monthly. And so we help take the admin out of the monthly billing, the monthly workflow deployment, and everything around running your practice, and then give you visibility over what the projected revenue is for your firm, where your revenue comes from in terms of your services. So not trying to replace the GL, but trying to give you the core things. So whether that's a monthly gold service package, whether that's quarterly, whether it's annual, so you can understand what's driving your revenue and actually get a projected revenue for the period ahead. Because let's face it, an engagement is actually a contract. So I'm spoken for way too long. Who's next, Mark?
Next is Bobby.
Over to Bobby.
Thank you. Hey everyone, I'm Bobby Chadder. I'm the product manager here at QuickBooks Intuit. So at QuickBooks, we have three main principles that we live and we breathe every single day when it comes to our accountants. The first principle is that we help accountants get on the cloud. And what we mean by that is not just QuickBooks Online, which is the bookkeeping tool. It's also introducing you to applications such as PracticeNisshin, GoCardless and Crunchboards as well. So that's the first thing. And we all know that transition isn't necessarily something that can happen overnight. Traditionally you've been using Excel, various different desktop products as well. And so our account managers are there to help you make that transition to the cloud. The second principle is becoming a trusted advisor. So we all know when we study and we pass our exams, we're really, really good at doing tax returns, tax planning, etc. More of the year-end compliance bits and pieces. All those wonderful things we learn around advising our clients, more around, how to help them run their business to become more successful is what we help accountants do. So becoming a trusted advisor, it is so many different things. It could be how you can advise your restaurateur or your client who's a builder to become a lot more effective and efficient when it comes to that person running their business. And the third main principle that we have is helping accountants grow their firms. So some of you may have seen our television advert, which is shown on national TV. It came on the other day on Sky Sports actually, as my team was losing, but hey, it's not a problem. I'm a Man United supporter, so there we are. Anyway, the television advert is just one of many different ways that we help accountants grow their firm. The number of people, the number of small business owners who are contacting us now at QuickBooks and asking us for QuickBooks accountants, it's just incredible. We've reached over, I think it's like 5.8 million people already from just a UK perspective from our television advert. And it's just incredible that they've seen this, and many of them are now signing up and they require a QuickBooks accountant. So those three key principles is what we live by, and that's QuickBooks.
Thank you, Bobby. Next we have Josh.
Hi everybody, can you hear me at the back? Awesome. So my name's Josh Sasto from GoCardless. GoCardless, we're one of the leading direct debit providers in the UK and across Europe. We work with about 16,000 businesses, helping them to get paid, including over 2,000 accountants, helping them collect their fees. Just want to say a little bit about direct debit in terms of how it works and some of the benefits for direct debit. So in principle, the way it works is you set up a mandate between your customer and your business. And from that point on, the business is in control of getting paid. So rather than having to wait or chase your customers to pay you by backs or by check or cash or even standing order, the business is in control. So you can pull funds directly from your customer's bank account. That has a couple of really key implications. So firstly, rather than having to wait for your customer to pay you, you basically get rid of late payments. I think Mark mentioned he has no bad debt, no debtors, no chasing. So improved cash flow, dramatically reduced admin. It's also important because one of Mark's key principles is around value-based pricing, regularly reviewing your pricing. With direct debit, at the end of the year, you can increase your prices without having to get the customer to set up another standing order or send you another check. So really valuable for value-based pricing. It also allows you to do things like if you do ad hoc pieces of work, one-off pieces of work on top of your regular retainers, you can also collect that via direct debit. So it's a really great payment method, but historically it's been really, really hard for small businesses, including accountants, to get paid in this way, and that's really where GoCardless comes in. Kind of three key things that I wanted to just mention briefly. So one, it's really, really easy to get set up. We're a modern technology company. You can go online and get started in just a few clicks. In about 5 minutes, set up your account. And everything is managed from your online dashboard. Two, it's a really, really low-cost way to get paid. Our fees are just 1% of the value of the transaction, but it's capped at £2. So you never pay more than £2 on a given transaction, which for the benefits of not having to chase any payments, being able to increase your prices, hopefully is worth it. And the third key benefit is it's not a standalone system. We're deeply integrated into pretty much all of the major cloud accounting softwares. We've just recently gone into beta with QuickBooks. We've got an awesome, really deep integration with QuickBooks going on there. We also work with the likes of Xero, Sage, Cashflow, and pretty much all the others. And the key benefit there is firstly, you've got your customers already set up in your accounting system. You can get them set up on direct debit from within that accounting software rather than having to use a separate system. When you create an invoice, you can automatically get paid from that invoice in the touch of a button. And then all of your reconciliation around marking invoices as paid and handling fees and all that kind of stuff gets done automatically through your accounting software. That's just a little bit about GoCardless. Feel free to come and chat to me afterwards, or we've got a stand kind of in that direction.
Thanks, Josh. And then last but not least, we've got it's not Amy, it's Helen.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, Amy can't be here. So Crunchboards, we're an all-in-one reporting and forecasting tool. So we're at the end of the process, but we're the bit that's going to enable you to take that real-time data you've set up in the cloud. You've got your client's data in there. We enable you to take it and start delivering it in a whole new different way. So real-time data is telling you what your client business is doing now. And when we sync with the likes of QuickBooks, we pull in every transaction from the dawn of time for your clients. And then we keep pulling it in. So every single day we go back and suck it all back in again. So you've got this melting pot of info on your client's business. With that data, you can then deliver the reporting and look at the KPIs, how the business is performing. But you can also turn it on its head and start to look to the future. And that is what we're all about. At the very heart of Crunchboards is forecasting. We've got a really, I've just got lipstick on it. We've got a really, really powerful forecasting engine at the heart of what we do. Anyone out there who has Sage Forecast, Win Forecast, that's what we've replaced with a cloud version. And we're about actually getting your clients to look to the future. So yeah, this cloud data says where they are now, but if we start using it, it takes 2 seconds to create a forecast for the next 12 months, 3-way cash flow forecast. And then we start talking to our clients about that. We start saying to them, look, this is where you're going. And we're big believers in 90% of accountancy firms out there are talking to their clients about historical data. This is where you've been. This is what you've done. The value in that is decreasing. The revenue in that is never going to be enormous. And you're never going to inspire your clients' businesses to actually take their businesses to the next step. So we're saying, actually, let's start putting forecasts. Let's start giving everyone forecasts. It's not just for the big firms. Everyone should be looking at seeing where they're going. You know, all businesses are out there to succeed. They're not just doing it for fun. They all want to grow. So let's start helping them grow. And let's start making them look ahead and start thinking about the KPIs behind what they need to do to start being better at their business, and taking that data of real time from the likes of QuickBooks, looking at where they are now and how can we affect where we are tomorrow. But it's delivering it beautifully in very clear and simple boards, which is hence the name, in kind of top level figures. They can just see how they're performing and see how they're doing and start measuring it. I could go on forever, but we're on both the QuickBooks and the Xero stands. So come and see us. We can talk you through the product and talk you how you can integrate it.
Thank you, Helen. So what we're going to do now is, now you know what the tools are, we're going to hear from an accountant and a bookkeeper who are using them, so we can find out how they're using them and the results they're getting. And we've got Jane and Gary. If anyone's in my pricing session earlier, Jane is the extraordinary bookkeeper that I was referring to, so I guess we'll hear a bit more about what you've been doing. And so shall we start with you ladies first? So if Jane, if you could just start by just a little bit about you first, and then start talking through the various tools you use and so on. And
no problem at all. Can everybody hear me? Not used one of these. Cool. Right, my name's Jane. I run a bookkeeping practice down on the south coast of England. There's myself, I'm a sole partner, and I've got 5 members of staff working for me. I started working for myself in 2004, just on the kitchen table, like many of us who bookkeeping did, completely by accident. In about 2013, I decided that rather than just being a freelancer, I was actually going to build a business. I was pretty good at what I was doing, so I was going to turn that into something more viable. Now, that was actually really hard. It proved to be much, much harder than I thought it was. And I was really, really struggling. So last year, I came across Mark, and I joined one of Mark's mentoring groups, and slowly started to change the way we do things. Now, for me, the cloud and the new technology I became a bookkeeper by accident, and it wasn't quite the exciting career path that I always thought I had ahead of me, but I think now it is, and I think the way we can now work with clients, the collaboration possibilities, and the way that we can automate those time-consuming, low-value processes so that we can really concentrate on adding value services to our clients and touching base with them and building relationships has totally changed the industry for me. So to talk about the kind of the software with the specific softwares here. Cloud pricing I started using it in kind of September last year, and then in November last year I really got to grips with it and I started to roll it out to my clients. I now use that in every pricing conversation I have, and I have increased my fees by 40% since November last year overall. We're a small practice, and that equates to just under £60,000. That is 50% with existing clients for not really an awful lot more work, and the rest of it's with new clients. Now, once upon a time, £28,000 fees in new clients would have been about 10 clients.
Just lift up, just.
Sorry. It's 5 new clients have generated those fees. So the starting process is using the value pricing concept and the cloud pricing model, and overall, I'm getting 60% higher fees when I'm having pricing conversations. So that has clearly had a massive effect on the profitability of my practice. And that's enabled me to explore different tools. So the next step in my process is I've priced the client, we've agreed a really good fee, they're happy, I'm happy. We then move over to PracticeNisshin. So we use PracticeNisshin to onboard our clients. The quoting process is really easy, so all of our services are built in. The quote's put together in minutes, it's emailed over, it's signed online, so no more hassling, please will you return it, please will you sign it, is it lost in the post? It then publishes all of our workflow through to our practice management system, so all of those jobs are allocated at the same time we onboard the client. So as soon as the client accepts, the jobs are published through to Practice Manager, assigned to the staff are notified, and that whole process is much smoother. And as well as that, the invoicing is sorted out as well. So it's just one less thing for me to spend my time doing, is sorting out the invoicing as part of that process. So as part of the onboarding process, we insist that people pay us by direct debit. So they pay us at the beginning of the month. They used to pay us at the end of the month, and they used to pay us kind of whenever they feel like it. So now all of our invoices go out at the beginning of the month, and they're all collected by direct debit on the 10th of the month. So by the end of the month, we've got all the money in for that month. We are still moving some of our existing clients over to that system, but cash flow is just incredible. And one of the most powerful things I did when I moved people over to that system is I moved my invoicing from the end of the month to the beginning of the month. So in March this year, I doubled the amount of cash flow running through my business in that month, which now means that I'm always ahead of the game, whereas always behind. Cash was always a nightmare. So the kind of quoting system, the onboarding system, and the collection of money, it's pretty much automated, much better results, which enables me to develop my practice better, bring in extra resource, which is absolutely fantastic. Cloud accounting software, the platforms that we use are just amazing. So I don't spend my time processing people's paperwork anymore. I spend my time taking their information on a daily basis, keeping in touch with them, reconciling their bank, checking their transactions, chasing them for missing stuff, constant contact all the time, and that is made possible by cloud bookkeeping software. We use Receipt Bank as an additional add-in, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So again, we don't have to deal with screwed up pieces of paper anymore. So our capacity is huge compared to what it used to be. And then as the final step to the process, we're using Crunchboard for reporting now. Crunchboard is such a fabulous tool. We deal small clients. Our highest turnover is like 3.5 million, so they're really little companies. But employee engagement and high-level reporting are both equally as important. And what I love about Crunchboards is that you can do both. So the way that you set things up, you can share boards with staff, so you can monitor targets, you can see how they're doing against each other, see how the sales targets are going. But then you can also have boards which are just for the managing directors and the executives of the company. And that's real deep down, that's cash flow, that's profit and loss, that's balance sheet, that's what-if scenarios. And all of that's done every day. So we've gone from a really struggling practice, not earning enough money, spending all of our time inputting data and adding no value to our clients at all, just literally doing the compliance, to doubling our capacity, increasing our fees by 40%. Our profit, I've brought in additional resource, but only because I want to develop new services, so our profits have gone up about 20%. And just the relationships we have with our clients are fantastic compared to what they used to be. So for me, the whole accountancy industry has become a very, very different place to work than it was 2 or 3 years ago when I was sort of quite disengaged from it. It's just a whole new field. So yeah, if anyone's not using any of these things, you really do get on board with them because they're amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Gary, if you just start by just a little bit about you and your practice, to put into context. And,
Right, okay. I'm Gary Lockton. I have an accountancy practice in Grantham in Lincolnshire. I don't know if you know where it is. Maybe, anyway. Right, I started in 1982. Long time ago. I can only just remember it. And I made the mistake, I think, like a lot of accountants do. We did the same thing year in, year out, but not really gain a great deal in the way that we were earning potentials, I suppose. The biggest problem we had was we would never learn from the mistakes because we didn't have any tools, as they are now, to actually help us. And the biggest tool, the biggest help that you can get nowadays is in your pricing. I've been on Mark's mentoring course now since March last year. And Mark's taught me such a lot with mentoring, with pricing, the value of the pricing as well, and actually how to explain this to the clients. Our biggest problem, as I said, was we had fixed pricing for tax returns, bookkeeping to a degree, but what we couldn't do, we could never get right, especially with new clients, was getting our pricing right, because we'd do what Mark would call ambush pricing. We would give them the bill at the end of the year because we'd work on hours like everybody else does in the business. And of course, that's okay, but the clients don't like that. You know, they'd come back to me and say, I didn't expect it to be this much. Why is it this much? And then you say, well, these are the hours we've worked. And how can you justify the hours you've worked on the job? To them, it's just a piece of paper, 5-6 sheets of paper. You might have charged them £2,000 or £3,000. There's no value to that, and all we're doing really is compliance work. It's only for the Inland Revenue or Company's House or whatever we're doing it for. So things had to change, and when things changed for me was when I got onto Mark's mentoring course, which I did back in, as I say, March last year. I was at one of the Intuit conferences, and Mark was on a breakout session. And what he was saying was kind of struck home to me about how we could actually do things differently. And I thought I was doing quite well. I thought, with fixed fees and things, we weren't doing too bad. And I thought fixed fees, I suppose like everybody else, was value pricing. But Mark soon put me right on that. So we started using software. Mark was developing it as we were going along. We started increasing that, and it took a while. We're still trying to get that existing clients onto the new way of doing things, but we're doing that with new clients. We're using the cloud pricing software. We're using Times Up as well, which is an AVN tool, which does exactly the same thing. And as I say, we've got some very, very good results from that. And what it does, it gives you confidence. The software itself is making the pricing decision for you. You don't have to make the pricing decision. The clients then see, well, it's not you doing the price. You're not putting your finger in the air and just working out what the price is. You're actually giving them a figure from the system. And because of that, they can accept it. Now, the beauty of the value pricing side, which is what Mark's got with his software, is it will give them a choice of three prices, 3 different levels of service. Now, we all give them the Rolls-Royce service, but we normally get paid for the Skoda, don't we? And what we want to do is we want to get paid for the Rolls-Royce price for the Rolls-Royce job that we do. And the value pricing that Mark's done and Times Up have done will enable us to do that. So because of that, we don't give them everything that we do. The pricing is actually laid down on the system itself, and it actually gives us room or scope for putting additional work into the system. So anything that's outside of the scope of the work that we do, we give them additional work orders now. We use GoCardless, and we've been using GoCardless now for 3 years to do this. So whenever we do any additional work order goes to the client, usually as an email. We give them a price, what the work's going to be, and then we get the money first. Once we've got the money, and it's been agreed with GoCardless, we then do the work. And we don't get anything from the clients. The clients themselves, as I said before, money itself was a dirty word. Putting a bill out to a client was a dirty thing to do as far as I was concerned. I hated doing it. I hated to see what the response was going to be. Now it gives me the confidence to actually go out there and talk to them about price. We use QuickBooks itself. We have a lot of clients on QuickBooks. And because of that, we can now do accounts, well, not accounts as such, but we can give them reports prior to the year end. Now, some clients want this, some clients don't. But they have the option to do that, and if they have that as additional work order, well then, we get paid for doing that extra work. So overall, we get some, as I say, we get what we want. We work for ourselves now. We don't work for the client. We do it at our what suits us, I suppose. I've been looking into PracticeNisshin. I've had a long chat with them this morning. I do like what they do, and I think I might be using them as well. So, overall, I think if you can get to use these cloud tools, I use other things as well. I use TaxFiler, which I think is fantastic for doing tax returns, final accounts. It submits to Companies House, all for £15 a month, plus that. I don't know how they do it at that price, but I'm not going to argue. So, overall, I don't need an office. I don't have an office anymore. I work virtually. I see clients either at a pub or a hotel or at their own home, whatever suits them. And because of that, I use the cloud software. I only need an iPad. I don't need a works computer. I don't need all the filing. We do paperless accounting as well. So, and I don't work the whole year. But I don't tell anybody that, no. All right. So anyway, over to you then, Mark.
Awesome, thank you. And a number of things that you said there that I thought were interesting, and a kind of a theme that's been coming out we had this session twice yesterday as well. Is anybody here from a smaller firm, perhaps a sole practitioner? Yeah. What we're finding, and Gary's certainly proven this, is using tools like this. It's just changing the landscape for the smaller firm because we can now automate so much stuff. We can scale more, as Jane said. It's interesting that, Gary's got almost a virtual business. He has most of his meetings now on GoToMeeting with webcam. And so what we can start doing, as we automate things with these tools, it frees us up to spend more time with the clients, using things like Crunchboards, adding more value, and start actually doing a far better service than the big boys who don't have that same personal relationship. So I think it's just transforming the life of the smaller firm, being able to use and tap into these tools. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to see if there's any questions, and I'm going to ask the first question of Bobby, actually, because it was triggered from something Gary said. Gary, you mentioned that you're a big fan of TaxFiler, and I was blown away back in February when I realised at an Intuit event that it links with QuickBooks. So because I was blown away, I think perhaps you might share how that works, and then I'll ask for some questions.
Yeah, sure. So we recently linked up with TaxFiler. We have a partnership with them. Now, TaxFiler is an incredible cloud-based product. Actually, before I go into that, may I just ask, with a show of hands, how many of you use a desktop statutory account solution or tax filing solution? Right, the majority, right? And the reason for that is because, quite frankly, there hasn't been much innovation in that field. We all know with bookkeeping, there's so many companies out there who are now cloud-based and they provide you the bookkeeping solution. But at the year end, it's still very 1982. And you could probably see that from the software that you look at every single day. So with TaxFiler, they're cloud-based. And the integration that we have with them is pretty brilliant. So you use QBO. You use your bookkeeping solution, you take it up to a trial balance, and within TaxFiler, from a click of a button, your TB from QBO is automatically imported into TaxFiler, but that's not enough. It automatically maps the QB chart of accounts and your TB to the one in TaxFiler. And at the moment, we're on about 90% accuracy. And that's pretty incredible because in QuickBooks, we don't have a prescribed chart of accounts. You could create your own chart of accounts if you like. So it maps it all through to TaxFiler, all from a click of a button. The tagging is done. The IXBRL side of things are all completed for you. And then from there, if you wanted to create a CT600 return, from a click of a button within TaxFiler, it takes you to the corporation tax module. And because we've already mapped your trial balance from QuickBooks to your statutory accounts in TaxFiler, all your disallowables automatically are pulled through to the CT600. So a huge time saver, because a lot of you here today who are using desktop solutions, you probably waste a lot of your time doing the mapping from Excel or from any of the bookkeeping solutions you're using. And then from there, once you file your CT600 to HMRC, the tax journal itself automatically comes back into QuickBooks Online. So it talks both ways. And so that's pretty incredible. And I think the pricing is also quite disruptive. I know we mentioned it here today already, but it's unlimited statutory account returns, unlimited tax returns. That's your SA100s, your trust and estates, your partnerships, your CT600s as well. And that's all for £15 a month. So next time you pay your annual maintenance fee, or when your desktop provider tries to pull you out for £5,000 for a document management component to your practice manager, just remember that now the revolution has started from the year end, and TaxFiler are definitely leading that. So it's a good thing.
Awesome. It's a game changer, no doubt. Who wants to ask the first question? And if there's no questions, I might... Oh, I've got a question.
I just wanted to ask GoCardless personal experiences. What do you do about resistance from clients to go to the GoCardless stroke direct debit solution? And do you actually refuse clients if they refuse to sign up?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Resistance from clients with GoCardless direct debits.
It's not really a case of giving them the opportunity to refuse, because when you talk about something as being part of what you do, you wouldn't take out a mobile phone contract and argue about paying for it by direct debit, because it's just the way it's done. It's part of the terms and conditions, and that's exactly what we do now. In the pricing conversation, we will say payment is monthly by direct debit, and it's taken around the 10th of the month, and it's just accepted. I've never had a client say, I don't want to pay you by direct debit, because it's just standard now. So, yes, we don't get it.
I think I'll agree with that, to be honest. I've not had a problem with direct debit. I think with the pricing tools that you have, you're going to price in monthly anyway, and you're going to say to them it's direct debit anyway because that keeps our costs down. You could always argue, say, well, you know, if you don't want to pay by direct debit, well, there might be additional fees to pay to do so, because you could pay by credit card, but then we'd have to do a credit card charges, but we don't charge any extra for direct debit. So there are ways to squeeze it, I think, really. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything, Josh?
It's a really good question. I mean, I think the 2 points already made around that's just the way we do business, and not really giving them the choice. Often the default method is really powerful. The other point around it helping to keep costs low is also another powerful one. I guess there are some things from a customer perspective. There's probably 2 key benefits for customers through this method. The first one is it actually reduces the hassle for customers. They don't have to manually go and pay every month for their bill. A lot of businesses have got plenty of other things to do besides managing their payables, so there is a customer benefit there in terms of reducing their admin. There are also some quite strong customer protections as well, so any concerns around like fraud or things like that, there is the direct debit guarantee, which protects customers and provides a lot more protection than things like standing order or bank transfer. I guess just one other point, we've actually written some content and some guides specifically around this point. I don't want to jump to it too much, but as part of our offer, you actually, if you tick our box on Mark's little form, we'll be sending out some content around this, which will help you communicate better with your clients about how to encourage them to pay by direct debit.
Fantastic. And one quick point I'd add on that is it's the way the world's going anyway. We're now getting used to paying on direct debit because you buy software now, software's on direct debit. We all pay our mobile contracts on direct debit. British Gas, we pay on direct debit. We used to pay it when the bill came through. We pay for so much on direct debit because it makes our life easier as a customer and we can manage. So I think you'll find that clients won't object to it, and that's the message I keep hearing. We've got time for one more question, and then we've got some offers to tell you about. Who wants the last question? Over here.
Again, it's to do with GoCardless again. So if I've got clients that are really just one-off clients, and what would happen in that scenario? Would you still advise GoCardless, or perhaps a BACS payment would be the best option because of the admin work involved, etc.?
Yeah, so we support both regular payments, so like retainers, as well as you can also do one-off payments through GoCardless. And essentially they would just put in their bank details through our online form, and then you can collect that payment. And then really it's up to you and the customer. You could continue with that mandate if you want. So if you do any future work, any future work orders, you could still collect it through that. And you don't have to store bank details or anything. We manage all of that securely for you. Or equally, you or the customer can subsequently cancel that mandate as well. So it's pretty flexible.
Okay, we might have time for one more. Anyone got a question for either Helen on Crunchboards or on PracticeNisshin for Guy? Guy's flown all the way in from Australia to come and see you today and help you. So, well, you were late, yeah. But anyone got a question about PracticeNisshin or Crunchboards? Is there anything you want to add about that we've not said?
The only thing I was going to actually add is that, the GoCardless has all the kind of practical functionality of actually what the accountancy practice is going to do. But actually what we want to start thinking about is where are you going to take your practice? Yes, automating all the systems, getting all this right, but why? What's the benefit? What's your objective, and where are you looking to go? And I think if you look at the industry as a whole, it is changing. This is just the start of it, and getting these processes and the direct debit and all those stuff as part of that change. But actually, it's the change in terms of the way that you're dealing with clients and the services that we're offering. And I think there is a real opportunity for you guys to be the accountants you wanted to be. When you all went to university, it was about being advisors. It was about talking through numbers, exciting stuff. What's going to happen if X, Y, and Z? And I think the industry has moved away slightly from that and gone back more into, head down into compliance. These tools now take away that compliance and enable you to go back, doing the fun stuff, and actually starting to make those businesses better. And that's where we come in.
Just one point to add to that. A lot of the discussion around GoCardless has been around helping you get paid in terms of your practice. It's probably worth saying that the vast majority of our clients are just regular small businesses out there. So on that topic around becoming business advisors, GoCardless is also a great tool to be able to advise to your clients to help them improve their cash flow. So just worthwhile thinking that one as well. That's coming later in the year. So the question was around, is there like a commission scheme or a referral scheme? That's coming later this year.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, before we then talk about the various offers, Stephen's about to hand out something to you any second now. So make sure you grab one of these, and then we'll tell you what you can get access to. And while he's doing that, just my final thought is, one of the objections I sometimes get about some of these software solutions is, yeah, but it's expensive. It's not. When you think about the difference it's going to make. So if you think about QuickBooks, for example, it's actually crazy cheap, I think. And what I would do if I was you is don't let the client choose whether to go on it or not and they pay it. You pay it on their behalf. You set them up on QuickBooks Online and you build it into your pricing. It's one less decision for the customer to make. So it's all about you just pricing it more effectively. Same with PracticeNisshin. That's going to just make your life so much easier. That's going to save you a ton of time. So when you start pricing properly with cloud pricing, you'll be able to afford these tools that will change your life. And then if you look at GoCardless, well, that has that outrageous setup fee of free. I mean, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't use GoCardless. And the 1% fee is capped to £2 is just stupidly low. When you compare it to the cost of chasing debts, of bad debts, of financing, it's just put it all on GoCardless. And then with Crunchboards, that's just an investment as far as I'm concerned, because what you should be doing is, when you start using these tools, it frees you up to do more management reporting and really adding value to your clients. And just because tools like Crunchboard, you can produce those reports at the touch of a button, doesn't mean we price based on time. We price based on the value to the clients. And I work with accountants who do this sort of stuff where they measure the numbers and report the key performance indicators on a monthly basis. And they charge about £600 a month for reporting the numbers, having a meeting with the client. Firms, that's £7,000 a year just for doing the reporting. That's the sort of fees you should be earning when you price it right. So the cost of actually having the software to do it, it's not a cost. It's a no-brainer. So what we're going to do very quickly to finish off is we've got a few things that you can have access to, some support and so on. So let me just very quickly tell you what there's. If you tick the first box, put in your details, tick the first box, give the forms to Stephen on your way out, and what I'm going to be giving you all is a completely free version of the cloud pricing software for 30 days, the premium version, so you can start getting the sorts of results that Jane and Gary have been getting with that. So if you want to have that for free for 30 days, tick that first box. If you tick the second box, Josh, oops, you want that.
Cool. So we're already free to set up. So we've put together quite a detailed information pack, including some really interesting case studies, some key benefits, and also, as I mentioned earlier on, some really interesting content, including things like how to actually talk to your customers about getting them set up on direct debit and how to encourage them to get their clients set up on direct debit to improve their cash flow.
Fantastic. Next, Bobby.
So if you're new to QuickBooks Online, or you're just starting off with your journey with QuickBooks Online, the offer is 5 QuickBooks Online subscriptions for £5. So that's £1 per subscription per month.
Crunchboards.
So we're offering 50% off your first month if you sign up before the end of May. Your first month includes all your training and support from our team. So there's a team that sits behind me that are accountants who work for us. So they can really support you in looking at the reports you're delivering, the forecast you're trying to build, replicating those into Crunchboards and really getting you up and running within that first month and getting you started.
Fantastic. Guy.
So we've got 10% off for the first 6 months using PracticeNisshin and 30 minutes with myself. So I didn't get to talk a lot today, but I built a cloud accounting firm that now has 22 people, doubles revenue every year before starting PracticeNisshin. And so people in my team call this Guy as a service. We can talk about rugby, we can talk about surfing, or we can talk about any issue you have actually growing and scaling your firm, whether it's marketing, But a huge thing I want to add to this panel as a closing note, and firstly, you can tick all boxes, can't you?
They can tick all the boxes.
Yeah, you can tick all the boxes. You don't have to choose one or the other, by the way. You can just tick them all. But one of the huge things is if you standardize the way your service offerings run, so not the value you provide each client, but the way you run your business, it makes it really easy to become the thoughtful advisor for your firm, to really start to develop a niche, which I think is huge, to being able to add more value to your existing customer base and do things like what Mark does with his accountants, and really think about scale in terms of your business. And number two, it becomes really easy to actually train your team, train them up, and teach them how to deliver a value conversation, do the pricing, do the engagement, use QBO, use GoCardless, so that you can go to the Bahamas or to Ibiza, wherever it is the British like to go. In Australia, we go to Bali apparently all the time. But I think that's really key, and I think it also allows you to expand globally, which is something that's completely new to the whole world of accounting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you've got any further questions, then Bob is going to be over there. You can see their stand. Guy, you're just about 2 blocks that way. Yep. Josh, you're kind of that way about 3 blocks, and you're all over the place, aren't you? And if you've got any questions for Jane and Gary, are you going to be around there for a little bit longer? So come next door and talk to Jane and Gary if you've got questions. And I think actually these two deserve a big round of applause for sharing so much with you. Thank you. If you give those to Stephen on your way out, we'll then collate them and send you all the various bits and pieces over the next few days. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.